Nomi, I need your help with something. I need you to help decipher what the hell Tulsi Gabbard is talking about and what her point even is in this appearance on Jesse Waters' show. I watched a bit of it, I watched a good amount, like a minute of it. I had a hard time deciphering what her point even is. What I kept focusing on is that they still put D by her name for Democrat. Even though she was a CPAC speaker very recently, or at least a guest star. I'm not exactly sure. But here she is on Jesse Waters' show, weighing in on the Russia-Ukraine situation and the war in there and Russia's invasion. And I'm not entirely sure what the hell she's trying to say.
Congresswoman, that seemed to be a critical piece of paper we signed with the Ukrainians in November, just a few months ago. Basically saying, yeah, you're NATO, you're on the way, you're getting there, you're close. Did anybody in Washington think that might have been a little provocative? And I'm not blaming the Americans for everything that Russia does. I'm just saying it takes a little touch to handle a buffer state like Ukraine. Don't you think so?
Yeah, Jesse, as you said, there is so much devastation and incredible suffering that's going on in Ukraine right now, and the world needs to condemn Putin for his actions. The thing here is that our leaders really have this FU attitude, and they just don't care. We see this FU attitude in our domestic policy here at home, where they're saying, you know what, FU to parents who are concerned about what their kids are being taught in their schools, FU to Americans who want to make their own decisions as it relates to their health and COVID. And then you see this same attitude and mindset also extending to their decisions on our foreign policy. Basically going in and saying, you know what, this is what we're going to do. Any other country in the world, and there's nothing that anybody can do about it. There's nothing anyone can do to stop us. And all of this just points to the fact that they just don't care, because, Jesse, if they did, then before making these decisions, before taking these actions, they would stop and think for more than just a moment about what the ramifications and consequences of those decisions will be. Who will they impact the most? How will they impact the American people, the people of these other countries? What will the cost be? Is it worth it? What is our objective, and what are we trying to accomplish? Does it serve the best interest of our country? These are the things that they would be considering before they make these decisions. And it's just clear to me that they're not. And I look back to 1996, something that exemplifies this FU attitude and their lack of care for people was when Madeleine Albright was asked about her reaction to the sanctions, U.S. sanctions policy against Iraq that had killed 500,000 kids. And as you know, her response was chilling when she said it was worth it.
Yeah. Okay. So it was indecipherable. Like, I can you give me a sense of, I mean, one, when she said, right, like the FU attitude about, first of all, okay, no, actually now I'm getting ahead of myself. Republicans love FU attitude. That's what Trump is. Like, are you really going to use this as a criticism
FU against the American people?
But that's not even, like, that would be a bit more decipherable. She's saying it in relation to foreign policy, but then she tries to connect it back to vaccines, right? Making their own medical choices due to COVID and what their kids are taught in schools. She really is not that bright. I got to be honest with you. Like, she's not doing this very well. That did not make a lick of sense.
She I remember when Trump first started running, and we're so used to it now, but it was like one of those boxes of words and he had to pull like 5 words and string along in one sentence. That's what that was. She's like, okay, I have to hit the points that the Fox News viewers care about. Yeah. Teachers bad, trans kids bad. Well, we already know how she feels about trans people. War bad, because that's her thing. Oh, Madeleine Albright, powerful woman, Democrat bad. So America bad only when Democrats are in power. But also I have to say Putin's bad because I can't look like I'm too tied to Putin because America first. I mean, it's my thought. I'm so baffled at how somebody can take such an aggressive turn And I'm really curious to see where her money's coming from at this point. Like if she does run, she's going to have to disclose that. And I think she's going to be in a very privileged position because, you know, it's you can't just take like weird front money from all these different organizations. And we've said this over and over about some of these online hosts too. They take money from people who, from nonprofits that cover for, you know, who knows what kind of donors. And I think the moment we're in right now, it's going to be very clear. Shit's going to get very real, very fast, because this is such an aggressive turn. It's not like she has her base that she's pulling. It's not like she's, you know, she started a radio show and she could pull her donors from her campaign over to it, and or even a sliver of it. She didn't do that. She is out there doing this on her own right now, and she's gone so far hard right that like you have to be funded to do that. She's not independently wealthy.
Again, like the Madeleine Albright quote is atrocious. I mean, obviously and it's worthy of condemnation, but like this is why someone like her and Jimmy Dore and people like that are useful on Fox News, is because that's the only person they'll talk about. Like, oh, we're gonna just what happened after 1996? Who came into power and had an insane foreign policy that killed hundreds of thousands of Iraqis, displaced millions, maimed and killed children, destroyed an entire nation based on a lie. Like that is a accurate point in terms of like what she tacked on at the end. But it's why like someone like Jimmy Dore and her, they found that going towards a right-wing audience is more lucrative because they don't really care about the content of the critique of Democrats. They just care that it is a critique of Democrats. And if you're not going to actually make it a broader argument about the military industrial complex as related to like the fascists and the insane people in the Republican Party, then what are you actually doing? And
she also made it sound like we're in Ukraine right now. Like I'm listening to it, I'm like, what are you even talking about? And you hear this when people are like, oh, well, look at Obama's strategy on jail. You mean not going? Like leaving it alone so it went into absolute chaos? You know, you have to differentiate a Republican, especially in the last 20 years, you know, the Republicans versus the Democrats on foreign policy. Democrats are flawed. You know, yes, we did not acknowledge Yemen. We did not deal with Yemen. Syria was a complete disaster under Obama. But it is very different policy than the Republican policy, which is send in Eric Prince and death squads and take over the country so that we can make money.
Yeah, it is obscuring the reality by an overemphasis on one particular point, and like that's why someone like Jesse Waters is happy to have her on. You know.
Well, I think we should call. I mean, frankly, at this point, and I go on Fox News, as you know, certain shows. I'm not messing with Hannity.
The points as opposed to what's happening in that instance.
Exactly, because the truth is as much as we don't want to, Fox News is everywhere. It's on the gyms. It's, you know, Republicans who don't like Trump watch Fox News at night as the background noise. If you can just say something truthful, interject it, you know, it might make a difference. But with that being said, News Corp is a publicly traded company. Are they endorsing type of behavior right now? Like this is the moment where Rupert Murdoch gets to sit down and say to himself, do I want to have hosts on here who are peddling Putin's conspiracy theories and guests on who have who knows what kind of ties to what foreign governments at this point? Like they have an obligation as a publicly traded company who relies on the modern day global capitalism that we don't necessarily want to be a part of, but this is like they rely on stability in the world right now, and they're being very much aggressively part of furthering instability. I mean, they're playing them in Russia, as you know.
Yeah, I mean, again, with her ties to Assad, let's be real, and like her ties to Narendra Modi, there are some shady things happening right now with her.